Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy from Cicla Bros. In today's video, I'm going to be showing a step-by-step process of how to clean your FX6 canister filter. Some people are afraid of cleaning their canister filter, especially if it's their first time, so hopefully this video will be a guide for you as you're cleaning your own FX6. Before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And guys, let's dive right in. Okay, so the FX6 that we're going to be cleaning today is one of my two FX6s on my 180 gallon aquarium here. I did a full unboxing, setup, and review of the FX6, and I'll leave that down in the description below if you're interested. But let's get to cleaning this FX6. Okay, so to start, I usually get a couple buckets, a couple towels, and then the water change hose that comes with the FX6. This is a bit of a trick when cleaning the FX6 canister that I'll show you. It's not a necessary step, it's something I always do. And then you turn off the valves to the off position. And then this is where you use the water change hose on this port here by taking off the plug, attaching the water change hose, and then screwing this red piece onto the hose, putting the other end of the hose into a bucket. Then when you remove the valves, you turn the piece down at the bottom, and then the water starts draining out of your FX6 and into the bucket. This is good for a few reasons. The main thing is that you now have a bucket of tank water that you can use to clean off your media, but the best part is that your FX6 is way lighter when you're trying to take it out from under your tank. You can forego this whole step with the hose if you just want to lift the heavy canister out from under the tank, but that's totally up to you. Then I add the plug back onto the canister filter. Once I get the FX6 out from under my tank, I sit it next to my buckets. One of the buckets is half full of tank water that came straight out of the FX6. The other bucket will be filled with tank water as well as I start doing a water change on the tank. I always like to do the water change at the same time as I'm cleaning my FX6, just because it always provides new tank water that I can use to clean off my media, and I'm killing two birds with one stone. So this canister filter is absolutely filthy. I definitely need to get on a better maintenance schedule, but I also, as you can see, I had the media in the wrong order for this canister. I have my bag of ChemiPure Blue on the top shelf, which should technically go on the bottom rack of the FX6 since you want to go mechanical, biological, and then chemical. The bag of ChemiPure is actually replaceable. Everything else in the canister I'm going to wash off and rinse. So for all of my biological media, I'm just going to put it directly into the tank water in this bucket, since it will really only need a light shaking in that water to clean it off, and because I want to keep it wet this whole time that I'm rinsing off all the mechanical filtration. The bottom rack of mechanical filtration was disgusting. This was definitely a much overdue cleaning, so I'm going to make sure everything gets cleaned and put in the right order for this FX6. And as mentioned earlier, I'm doing a water change at the same time here. So I turned off the faucet and just kept the suction coming slowly from the tank so that I always have a source of tank water that I can fill up with my buckets. This is great because a lot of my sponges were so dirty I had to go multiple times to the sink to refill my bucket with tank water. So now I just keep rinsing off all the mechanical filtration, wringing it out as much as I possibly can to clean out all the debris and dirt that had accumulated on the mechanical filtration. I even had Rambo stop by to help me out here. And again, this is in the tank water, which it's a debate whether or not the tap water would kill your beneficial bacteria. Usually your media needs to be exposed to the tap water for longer periods of time to actually be impacted by that. However, I would still recommend tank water just to be safe. That's what I do. I just go the extra step just to make sure everything goes well in my tank. So I just continue to wring out all my different sponges, going back and forth to dump out the dirty water and refill with more tank water, and just get everything as clean as possible. Once the sponges are good to go, it's time to get the trays. The trays can really be exposed to whatever water source you need. A lot of people use a garden hose or a sink. I'm just using the water coming out of my Python here since it's easy. And then another step I do is just dump out whatever is remaining in the canister itself, just giving it a light rinse to get any of the debris or the sand out from the bottom. Then I add brand new Chemi Pure Blue. I put this on the bottom tray along with a little bit of biological filtration, and then I start pulling out the biological filtration out of the bucket. As I'm doing that, I'm just giving it a light shake in the bucket and then putting it back into the tray. A lot of the biological filtration is in the middle, and then the top shelf is primarily the filter pads for mechanical filtration. Once I have these stacked up, everything is looking much cleaner, much better. It's ready to go back into the FX6. You just make sure to line up the trays and then use the 2 red prongs to make sure all 3 trays stay together. And then one last tip I would have for putting your FX6 back together is just putting a little bit of water into the canister. This helps your canister prime when you plug it back in, and less air bubbles will need to go all over your tank. This also helps with the FX6 not starting and stopping when you first turn it on. At this point, you can see my water change has gone down to about 30 to 40%, which is great when I start refilling the tank because the FX6 will pull some more water down into it. So again, it's the 2 birds, 1 stone. I put the FX6 under the tank, I put the valves back on top, and then turn to the on position. Some water will rush down into the FX6 at this point, and then you can plug the FX6 back on. Here's the tank refilling without the FX6 on. I just have my wave pump still running, but then here's the tank with the FX6 turned back on. Has a ton of water flow, something I always love about this canister, and it's now ready to go. One thing to note about the FX6 that I get asked a lot is sometimes when you first plug in your canister, it does turn on and off. It is completely normal for the FX6. It's really priming and just trying to get an airtight seal with the water in the canister. So just let it run for a while and it'll usually work itself out. Okay, that does it for today's video. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave those down in the comments section below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.